Hey everyone. I just thought I'd jump on quickly to sort of go through what I think is the main problem with African cichlids that stops people from getting into them in the first place, um, and like my thoughts about it in that. So basically, the main problem with the African cichlids, and here we're specifically talking about the Malawi cichlids, so like the peacocks, haps, and mbuna, and I suppose you can throw Tropheus in there as well. Um, Not so much about the Shelleys and like little Tanganyikans and that. That's kind of different. Um, but yeah, the main reason. Oh, that was a weird noise. The main reason more people don't get into them is they're not really an easy one to sort of dip your toe into. Um, so there's a few things I mean by that. So like number one, obviously they're all pretty big. Um, like the absolute smallest you could do would be like a 3 foot tank, which is like say 150 liter or 40 gallon tank, and that sort of size you'd be pretty limited to like your electric yellows or yellow labs, demisoni, maybe your impangas, a couple other little things like that. But yeah, I mean, and then aside from that, you're really looking at your 4 foot to 6 foot minimum range for like your peacocks and haps, which is obviously a big investment for a pretty big tank. That I mean, you're not going to be sure that you're going to like them. Like, of course, not everything's for everybody. You might get them and decide, but it's a pretty decent sized tank to have to make that commitment to be able to sort of find out, I guess. So that's the first thing, and the second thing is like I find a lot of people, particularly with like the standard community type tag with like the classic cookie cutter one where it's like one centerpiece fish, a group of schooling fish, and a group of corridors. Um, you can't really do that with the cichlids where you just add sort of some at a time. Like, so for example, this is a 4 foot tank. It's like 120 centimeters by 45 centimeters by 70 centimeters. And you're not going to be able to like, I couldn't just chuck like 3 fish in here to kind of dip my toe in the water and see how it is, because you have to overstock them. If you don't overstock them, you'll get fighting. Like if I chuck 3 fish in here, I'll have 1 fish, if you know what I mean. Like they'll just hound each other till there's only one left. So you do need to kind of get a bunch of fish all at once. And the problem with that is like, obviously if you're adding like a few fish at a time, it's like that the cost of like the livestock is spread out over 6 months. But of course you still add with Africans, but like you will add like maybe half of your final stocking in the first day, for example, which is going to be pretty expensive. That's a lot of fish, big fish, expensive fish, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the main problem I see with them is it's one you have to commit to beforehand to be able to get started. Just in the specifics and the nuances of how to keep them and how to keep them happily. Um, I think it is a challenge, but probably what I'd recommend for getting started with Africans as a whole is, well, number one, Lake Tanganyika is awesome. Like your shell dwellers or your cave rock dwellers, that kind of thing. They're not so aggressive. Like you can just get like in this tank, you can just chuck 3 brevis and you'll be fine. You'll probably never see them, but they'll be fine. Well, not when these guys are here. I mean, this empty tank. You can just chuck them in and they'll be fine. You can build it up and build it up and build it up. So what I'd recommend is like starting with those if you're interested in like the personality or the behaviors aspect of the African cichlids. It's probably an easier start, and then you can, once you gain confidence, you can kind of build and build and build, and then you're like itching to get a Malawi tank, so you know what you're doing. You know what you're in for. I mean, the other option that I find quite a people like is they like to kind of dip their toe in using some of the smaller, more peaceful mbuna, like your electric yellows. Like you could just set up one of those Blue Planet 150 liter, 90 centimeter tanks. Get one of those, truck you know, some aragonite in it, chuck a canister on it, and a bunch of whatever random rocks you want, and chuck some fish in and kind of go from there. Because they're going to be much more peaceful. They're going to start small, obviously, if you buy them small, and not get too big, and be a lot more manageable to build up yourself. So that would be a good way to do it. Otherwise, so that's kind of the easier way into it method. The other method that I find a lot of people like is just the dive in head first method. Like, just go, some people just want to get a 6-foot tank, drop, 40, 50 fish in on the first day, and just love it. And of course, I mean, if that's what you want to do, whatever you want to do to get the most out of your hobby, that would be, of course, fine. It's just you don't want to. You really don't want to have like your 4-foot tank, chuck an OB, a pink dragon's blood, and I don't know, a Venustus in, and just leave it and then be like, oh, in a month I'll add some more fish. Because by the time it comes around, you're not going to have any fish left, and that's how a lot of people will get disheartened, because you invest all this emotional effort and time just for these fish to kill each other, which is not fun, of course. So yeah, that's kind of the ways I'd think about it, and that is the main problem we have with Africans, is they're not as easy to dip your toe in as angelfish or goldfish or betters or something like that. But in my opinion, they're such awesome fish, such fun behavior, fantastic coloration. Just like, you'll never have someone come into your house and not get blown away by a Malawi tank, like whether it be a super run-of-the-mill like basic Mbuna tank with yellows and dems and nothing else, or a Trophies to Boise colony, or a group of predator haps, or a mix, just an OB only peacock tank, or a mix peacock and hap tank, or whatever. It's going to blow everyone's socks off. They're just awesome fish to keep. Everyone get some African cichlids right now. They're just I can't get it out. I'm not good enough at words to be able to explain how much fun and how rewarding they are to keep. And I think so many more people would enjoy them and get so much more happiness out of their hobby by keeping African cichlids. And I mean, I do want to do a separate video just focusing on the Tangyikans, like getting more average Joe hobbyists into them, because Lake Tanganyika is a lot of fun and a lot more approachable. But I'll keep that for a separate video because I don't want to mix it up. But that's basically my thoughts on why African cichlids are a bit more challenging to kind of get started with than a lot of other things. So yeah, I mean, that's all I had for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any sort of questions or want me to explain something a bit more, or anything like that, want to tell me your thoughts, of course, there's nothing I'd love more than to hear about them. So just drop a comment down below or come into the shop and talk to me in that. And I mean, I just love talking fish, so I'll be here, I promise. So yeah, that's all. Happy fish keeping. Remember to have fun. Like and subscribe. All this stuff. So yeah, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.